realize what you're truly selling. And if it is trust, then go all out on that. What's happening nowadays? The machine is the ideal matchmaker.
Tribox, the name, people look at it and they go, it's kind of a weird name. It means something to me, and what it stands for is cash, protection, and investment.
In your business, the clients that you've had for 10, 15, 20 years, there's a story in there. Why are they with you, right? It's not your perspective of why are they with me. No. I want to hear from them. Why are they with you? Because I'm sure that once that story unravels, there's going to be a whole lot of things that you said. It's like, I had no idea.
A lot of people say cash is king. I say profit is king. All right, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you.
This is numero dos.
Okay.
Still working out some kinks. But as we were talking earlier, like the whole point of this is once a month, I want to be able to have an expert come in that has worked with business owners, currently working with business owners, and just share some ideas, some things that in the trenches, things you're learning that business owners are either doing right or doing wrong. And that could ultimately end up leading to them making more money in their business, which turns into more freedom, more wealth, and all the other things. So why don't we start with just giving us a little background of who you are, what business you're in, and how you got into business.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Great place to start, indeed. My name is Federico Giller, and I run a small boutique communications agency specializing in helping people communicate, talk about their businesses. Inevitably, every small business owner that I meet has this issue that with our marketing, with the way that they're presenting themselves into the world, it's like, it's not really getting to the point. It's not really telling the story. And it's not really creating the value, the differentiation that I have in terms of who we are with respect to the market. And as much and as hard as we try, we just can't get through. Okay.
We get stuck in our own heads, right?
Well, that is part of it, yes. And the other part of it is that I believe that there's a layer underneath the deliverables and the actual things that you talk about and that you actually do in your business, the services you offer, whether it's financial or attorneys, etc. There's something underneath that once we start to give that voice, then people can relate. And that is the one factor that I think makes the biggest difference, is our ability to trust one another in our communications and in who we are. Take into context some of the situations taking place right now with AI, right? And ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. Amazing wordsmithing, right? Mm-hmm. You use it, I use it, everybody uses it. But here's the thing. Until the future, when we are actually start doing business with machines instead of with humans, there's still going to be that. I still want to know who that human being is.
Right.
As fancy as the wordsmithing can be around your business, I want to know who that business is. And that's what we strive to get across the camera, the media, so people find value and can relate.
Yeah, and I find like many times we're in such a busy world trying to figure out how to plant those hooks or how to plant those kind of short stories that will live inside someone's brain makes a big difference. And so what is it? So you're a communication specialist. You help business owners communicate their message through different forms of media? Yes,
indeed. And a lot of it sort of video based. And just to give you a little bit of background in terms of how I arrived at this, in 2001 I started working with a gentleman named Tom Feltenstein. It is claimed that he used to run the marketing in McDonald's and Burger King, and then he ended up having his own consultancy, and he developed the Neighborhood Marketing Institute. Big advisor to Coca-Cola, Pepsi, McDonald's, Subway, Hyatt, everything that had to do with hospitality and the food service industry, and also in franchising. So I have that very deep strategic background in business marketing, right? And the core of his premise was that it's your team, it's your people, it's your four walls that make the difference in telling the story of who you are. Think of a small bank or a dental practice, right? How many millions are invested just in that space where they get to, do the practice, right?
Yeah.
So the one of the smartest things to do is to take that and leverage and get it out there so that you bring value to people so they understand exactly who you are.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what this is, right? What I'm doing here. It's taking 28 years of being a financial professional and figuring out how to not have one-on-one conversations all the time where I'm saying the same things over again, but how to have that depth and that reach.
Yes.
So as you work with business owners, what are some of the challenges that you see established business owners, people who, they're making good money, they're just trying to get to that next level, but their marketing's kind of, we all have a lead problem, right? Right. We could all figure out how to get more prospects, right? We all feel like we do a pretty good job of getting that business and bringing those new clients in. But what are some of the challenges that you see out there, and how does your company help some of them? I know you've worked with a dentist before in particular, I'm thinking about. Maybe share a case study with us.
Absolutely. And let's frame the issue initially, right? Mm-hmm. Because established and successful business owners, they have a glass ceiling, and us with the entrepreneurial spirit is like we always want to go for higher growth and bigger growth and mm-hmm. make things happen in a different level. What's happening nowadays? Right now, the machine is the ideal matchmaker. The one who will introduce you to people who are looking for what you do is going to be the machine. Okay, this is what all this SEO practice is around, right? Mm-hmm. So people looking for the kinds of services that you provide are going to be introduced to you based on how relevant you are to the machine. Funny enough, it's a very strange thing.
Now, when you say machine, you're talking SEO,
Google business
YouTube,
profiles,
just social media, TikTok,
okay, all of that, right? They're the ones who decide who you are presented to, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. You have to understand from a wordsmithing perspective, because that's what they do, what it is that your clients are looking for. Got it? I mean, everybody does this. There's a gazillion different organizations who do that. Now, once you understand that, but you have that framework, then you take the next level, which is where we come in, which is the communication. How do you talk about yourself in a way that is so unique and so different and so to the point that people say, it's like, wow, I'm going to give that guy John a call. Because something clicks. And what is it? I believe it's something about our humanity. Mm-hmm. So in this, again, and you take this contrast from this highly, built world with the algorithms and the AI, etc., and then you bring the practical human communication of what makes us tick as human beings, and that's where the magic comes in. Now, and I will give you then the next thesis is that the breakthrough in communications about your business are not in your head. They're not in the business owner's head. And
that's where we live. Yes. I mean, I've been doing this for going on 3 months now, and feel like I'm having somewhat success, but I know I struggle from, I've got all these things. How do I tell them in a way that the algorithm's going to pick it up, that they see I care about them, that I'm going to connect, right? How am I going to run the business, also learn how to market and communicate a message all in the same spot, and then go home and be a family man?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it makes it really, really tough. And here's the solution we found. It's the story about your business is not in you. It's in your customers. Mm. It's in the people you're serving, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, think of, in your business, the clients that you've had for 10, 15, 20 years.
They're 25 plus.
Right? There's a story in there. Why are they with you? Right? It's not your perspective of why are they with me. No. I want to hear from them. Why are they with you? Because I'm sure that once that story unravels, there's going to be a whole lot of things that you said, it's like, I had no idea.
So when it comes to that, I've surveyed my clients, I've asked them, we've had different coaching programs where go back and ask your top 10 clients, What do they most admire about you? And, you know, it comes back down. They say a lot of the same things.
Right.
I trust you. You communicate well. I know you have my best interests at heart.
Right.
But when you hear that and it makes you proud, you're like, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored that you choose to work with me. But then when you try to turn that into a message where you're communicating, everyone out there is kind of saying a different version. So how do you become unique, and how so you get the data from the client, you get to understand you know, their story. But then how do you translate it into something that's actually marketable that you can...
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. And I'll share a practical example here. Mm-hmm. I worked with a bank, a community bank out in Kansas, middle of nowhere, you know, Garden City, Kansas. I mean, driving to the nearest Walmart is like an ordeal of 3-4 hours. Okay.
Yeah, I've been to Kansas before.
Okay. Yeah, Western Kansas, middle. Yeah, right. So it's like, okay, great place to have a bank. But anyway, they went up for this award, the Banky Award, which I've been covering since 2016. You know, producing the Banky Award, and part of their submission, you know, to become the best recognized bank in America, of course, you have to have your numbers right on. You know, you have to have a lot of things, but the final choice of who wins the bank is done by an audience after they watch a 4-minute video of who you are. And so they did multiple approaches, you know, because they're a fun-loving bank. So they made these like really funny videos and so on. They were great, but it never got them there. It's like, okay, well, here's what I see happen, and then they come over to me. It's like, hey, Federico, what's going on, or what can we do? And then I tell them, I was like, look, let's do this. You've tried telling your own story multiple times. Let's take that same story, but let the customers tell it for you. So all I want you to do is line up moments where I can go and interview your clients, and we can have a sit down, and then let them speak on your behalf as to why it is that they bank with you. Okay, so we went there and we did that, and all of a sudden I create a story for them based on the experiences of, say, 10 different clients that they have, and I put that together in a way that made sense. And of course, you know, that year, yes, they became, you know, best bank in America. They won all the accolades, etc. You know, going back to that dentist that you asked me initially.
So wait, that's a very, very, very solid point. I mean, I'm just thinking, if I had a video that was like, why Tribox?
Right.
And I wasn't saying anything, and it was just an interview of client after client after client after client after client after client after client, telling them, you know, telling the story about why they work with me, and how long we've worked together, and how they've seen me go from kid to married to kids to divorced to married to more kids to house in Costa Rica. I mean, as a business owner watching, I mean, imagine if you had that video created for you where you had why your company name, and it was just all your clients singing your praises for 2 minutes. I think that would be a fantastic piece of content that they could put either, you know, on the back end of a new introduction coming in, and there's a bunch of different stuff that you could do with it. So,
and that's different than testimonials, because you see a lot of, you know, practices there that have, you know, the different testimonials sort of put there, and it's essentially the same thing, repeating it over and over and over again, and that is true. It's just that you have to make it interesting, keep it full of value, and that's where you tell that story in multiple voices. That all of a sudden people say, "Oh man, yes, that's right." And then, of course, whatever it is that, you know, you, the business owner, is putting out there is of value, and it is of transcendental value. I mean, think of this. I mean, what a more boring topic to market than a bank. I mean, their money's just as green as everybody else's bank, right? Yeah. Credit unions, you name it.
Well, you're telling the story, and I'm thinking, Kansas, I've been there, not my favorite place to visit. Bank, how sexy can you make a bank?
Yes.
Third, the location of the bank. I'm like, wow, what a challenge.
Right. And yet, when you watch, you know, the work that we've done in the voices of the customers, is like, you're entertained by the...
You almost feel like you're missing out. You're like, man,
exactly.
I don't have that with my bank.
I want these guys at my side. Absolutely. Same thing happened, you know, with our local dentist that we know, with Alex. Great practice, great human being, top of the line professional, you know, moved in, you know, and opened his practice in this area, and he's just wanting to have, you know, to have a buzzing practice. Okay, great. Same idea. If I interview him as a dentist, and I've interviewed at least 40, 50 different dentists, and I've done this for different dentists, and it's like, they're all going to tell you the same thing. You know, we have the newest equipment, and we do this, and we do that, and da-da-da, and we're the best. They're all going to tell you the same thing.
Right.
But when you start telling that story, because the customers are coming in there, and all of a sudden you can relate to the customers, whether it's because one of them is saying, it's like, oh, it's so great because Dr. Alex can speak to me in Spanish and about these technical things. It's super important to have it in your native tongue because I need to know what's going on with my mouth.
Right.
Or the mom who's like so proud of her kids is like, no, I don't know what happened, but since we started coming to Dr. Alex, all of a sudden my kids are like really
brushing
into brushing and flossing and doing their thing. Or the other one who, you know, or somebody else who's got their entire family and they've got 5 different people, and all of a sudden you're hearing that, it's like, who do I want in my mouth?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it shifts, right? But again, it's not because the dentist said something, the dentist or the business owner said something phenomenal or transformational. But it's because you can relate to that story, and it's like, yeah, I want my kid to brush his teeth too.
So let's talk about the dentist a little more. So just so that we can get a better understanding from a business owner of how some of these things can be applied in different formats, right? So we've got the testimony of clients that helps build, you know, your credibility, you know, the kind of person that you are. It shows you're human. You're not just about the numbers. So that's a great angle. What else have you worked on with the dentist or with other practices, specifically service-based business owners? Because that's a lot of what this channel is geared towards, right? We don't have, you know, a product that we're selling. We don't have a phone or widget that we're making, right? Our product is a service that we provide. Yeah. So what are some other ways that you've seen business owners either grow or leverage their time to gain more of their time back by using video, you know, social media, audio, and just some of the skills that you have?
Yeah, great question. And let's break it down, because first of all, it has to do with, again, being able to have people being able to find you. You know, if you're not friendly to the machine, you're invisible. Sorry to say that. I mean, so that's a real practical. Everything that has to do with Google Business Profile, with SEO ranking, with appearing first, with creating a name for yourself in that space, you know, in this great networking, virtual networking environment where everybody lives, that is hugely important. The other thing is that you have to really understand what it is that you sell, okay? And say an attorney, a dentist, a bank, you, right? Your commodity isn't, you know, the financial services you offer. The commodity is not the money. The commodity is not the working on teeth. What you're really selling is trust. And once business owners understand that, if you are, you know, if somebody's selling phones, this conversation is very useless to them, okay?
Yeah.
But with something...
Because then we're just doing price.
Exactly.
Who's got the cheaper phone? If the same thing, who's got the cheaper price on
right. So it's useless for them. But these services practices, your true element, your true currency is trust. So anything and everything you can do to build trust without being a fake is going to be huge. Why do you know, to that point, why is the customer experience so important in that? Because it adds a level of realism to it, right? Any business owner can say anything they want about their business. Okay, so huge, that piece of trust. And then developing that conversation over a prolonged period of time, because the other thing that we do within a community and in businesses that are sort of geo-located, right? It's like people see you again and again and again and again, and it's repetition. And nowadays it's got to be a value-rich proposition every time you come out there, right? So say, I mean, this is a perfect example, right? You're doing this podcast right now to help small businesses in your area, right? And you're making a huge investment in making this happen, and you're bringing great people in here, so that you can be of service, right? Very different than shouting about how great, Tribox, private wealth is, and how great you are, etc., and really adding no value.
Yeah. So interesting point as you say all that. I think about, there's, I don't know. I mean, there's six. I believe there's six financial advisors in this building alone.
Okay.
6 independents just like me.
Right.
I mean, I just had a buddy from my old firm join downstairs. There was one guy across the street. There's 2 more down that way. And it's true. I mean, the client could walk into this building and walk into any one of our offices and get pretty much the same thing. No one has exclusive access to anything. But why are they going to choose me? It's going to be my ability to get them to see without selling them that they can trust me, that I'm honest, that I can communicate well. So that's what you're saying is the main focus, right? So not so much all the different ways that I can save them on taxes or, how I can make help them, their kids become wealthy at young ages, right? It's getting them to trust me, take a complex situation, put it in words that they understand, that they feel empowered to take action on, and say, hey, if there's anything that has to do with finances, I'm just going to go to him because I have that level of trust and I know he's got me.
Yes.
And it's what you're basically saying. As service-based business owners, we need to learn how to communicate in that manner.
We become part of the tribe of that individual, exactly. And when they feel that you've got their back, it's great. When they know that before you meet with them, you have worked out, you have run, your body's in tip-top shape, your mind is very clear, and you know exactly what it is that you're doing. And they get that from you, right? Because this is what you do, this is what you believe, this is who you are.
Yeah.
And then very different than somebody, who had, steak, wine, and potatoes last night, and this morning they woke up with coffee and donuts.
Yeah.
Because the mind...
They're all foggy-headed and forgetful.
Exactly. And that makes the difference. It's like, who do you want? Who do you want in your corner? Right?
I have an experience right now, a real-life experience of me personally, where I've got a bookkeeper. I love the work she does. She's been phenomenal. And she recommended a CPA to me because I've been looking for a new one. Mm-hmm. And he might watch this, I don't know. But, I always feel like I'm sharing my trials and tribulations, help people in their own journeys, right, to help them understand they're not alone. And she loves him, trusts him, swears by him. My experience of him, not impressed yet. Mm-hmm. We talked on the phone for almost an hour. He had me drive down to go see him. I walked in. He couldn't remember much about our conversation. I had to bring him back up to speed. He told me to call him at a certain time. I did. Yeah. He asked for my forgiveness because he hadn't gone through my stuff yet. He then calls me back and needs documentation that I know I've given him. Mm-hmm. And, so that part of the trust, the following through, doing what you say you're going to do, having a team that is actually committed to listening and retaining.
Right.
I personally know from my experience right now that's super, super important.
It is. It's wildly important. And when you know that somebody has your back because they're thinking about your business in a way that you're not thinking about it yourself, because they have, subject matter expertise that you don't have, and you know that they're 2 steps ahead of you, those are the people that you want to work with.
So going back to the dentist, so you did the video for them. I'm sure that was super beneficial. What kind of other projects have you worked on with him or someone else that helped deliver this message, that helped either with revenue and or building brand awareness and or helping that person free up some of their time?
Well, I work with 3 primary areas right now. It's happened to be that way. 1 is community banks, 2 is dentists, and 3 is nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. When, people, nonprofit owners, they think that, because they have this little specialty of the book reading club with a special secret sauce as to how to teach kids how to read, that all of a sudden they are in a field of their own and they're unique. It's like, no. You have to understand it from your donor's perspective. When your donor is looking at you, they're looking at 10, 20, 50 different, organizations. And it doesn't matter that you have this edge in this thing. It's like, it has to align with what it is that they are intending. And not because you think that you've created the niche, is that will everybody else fall around it. So again, with that messaging, with that, with the way they express themselves, it's like, okay, who are the beneficiaries? Okay, let's get them on tape. Who are the kids that you've graduated, or you say you've graduated? What do they look like? What do they sound like? Who are they? How about other influential people within the community? What do they say about you? So we find, the top people in the area, all of a sudden adding a ton of social proof, and then all of a sudden, you're here and somebody else competing for the same, resources is way down here. Same thing.
And I saw the video that you did for the MacArthur Foundation.
Oh,
the one
right.
outside. I mean, that, first of all, how you got the audio so dialed in was amazing, because you guys were outside and it's pretty windy around there.
Right.
But yeah, I got to learn a little bit more about that organization and what they do. And what I take away from it is I got to feel the people who actually run the organization, and that gives me confidence on whether I want to actually allocate some of my charitable contributions to an organization like that.
Right. And then, and in that one in particular, I mean, then you've got, Wizard Studios, because we work together. So we're sort of merging the best of both worlds, right? On the one end, it's sort of the marketing savviness, the communications pieces, the bringing value, everything that has to do with the human, the soft part, right? Which is sort of my strength. And then Rafael and I from Wizard Studios teamed up, because all of a sudden we're getting, Hollywood level or Netflix level filmmaking available to the small business owner to tell these stories in such a beautiful, elegant, cinematic way that's entertaining, that's fun, that's well done. And it's something that I don't think the industry has seen yet.
Yeah, and if you've seen any of the Instagram posts of behind the scenes studio, that's Wizard. This whole room was Raphael and Wizard, and so I met him a few years ago, and very grateful to have him in my life and have met you through him. Right.
No, and likewise. I mean, and when I met him, and actually Raphael makes the joke. It's like, no, this guy is so crazy. He goes and does this award-winning video with his phone.
Yeah.
And it's true, because the stories can be so powerful. But when you add that, and we did that actually last year, and we won another award in that, because then Rafael was able to tell the story from a cinematic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It's a marketing thing, but it's told in a cinematic, entertaining way, and that unique mix is really.
And these days, you've got to find different ways to keep your audience engaged, right? Because I mean, they're scrolling so fast. If they're not like getting hooked on something there. If their interest is being drawn, then you're going to lose them pretty fast.
Yes, yeah. So in terms of, for the small business owner, in terms of sort of bringing this together and bringing this to something that can be valuable, one, realize what you're truly selling. And if it is trust, then go all out on that and build everything around that communication. This is secondary. What we do is totally secondary.
Would you say that even as they're listening to this, if they're thinking about what it is they're selling and like trying to figure out how to take what you just said and file it in their brain, they should just zap that file out and replace it with what they're selling is trust?
Yes.
Like start from there, break away from what's the product got to look like, what's the offer have to look like, and all the other stuff, and say, you know what, if you're just starting in this game, in terms of not your business, because you're established, you're doing well, but in terms of like marketing, communicating a message, start with the trust that you want to build within that practice. Would that be like numero uno? Step one?
Without question. Absolutely. And again, you don't establish it by saying, trust me. You establish it just by showing case after case after case after case of the people who have done that before and how they have benefited emotionally, personally, in your case with finances, etc. I mean, let's go a little bit deeper into your services, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Yes, you help people make more money with their money and take care of their money. I mean,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
talk about
Tribox is, I mean, the Tribox, the name, people look at it and they go, it's kind of a weird name. I mean, the reality is when I came up with that name, I was working at a different firm and they wouldn't approve the business name.
okay,
But I accidentally got an email sent to me of them going back and forth going, what is that name? It's crazy. It's not marketable. Like, why does he even want to do that? And it's just a flat no.
okay,
Right. So I came back and said, you can't really do that. It means something to me. And what it stands for is cash, protection, and investment.
okay,
I look at the name and I think about all the business owners I've served in the past. And I think about 2008. I think about 2000.com era, 2008, right? All the different times I've seen businesses fail. And when they failed, the business didn't fail. The business failed and their personal life failed too. They got divorced. They lost their house. They started from ground zero.
yes,
I'm thinking about one example of a buddy of mine who his wife basically left him. The business failed. She left because she basically was like, you're a producer. You're not producing. I'm out of here. Right? That devastated him. It took him a long time to get back.
yes.
So as a business owner, if you can start learning how to manage your cash properly and shift your relationship with money,
Yes.
get your cash under control so that you know your margins. A lot of people say cash is king. I say profit is king because cash is king. It's good, but profit's better because that's what you could that's the juice you can take out.
Right.
Then you've got to protect yourself. You are the number one asset. Something happens to you, who's going to produce at your level? Right. Nobody, yes. Right? So master the cash, protect the asset. From that solid foundation, you can go into building investments without compromising the foundation of your personal and your business life.
Right. Yes. So you see, even in the way that you're expressing this, I mean, you're really getting it in terms of the people who come to me. It's not about some exchange thing, but I know what is underneath it, because entire families will get built or destroyed based on what I am able to provide this other human being. And when somebody gets it, that that's what you're about, and that when you're in their corner, these things are not going to happen because you're a stand for it not to happen, it's like, you don't need to, say, there's not a whole lot more that you need to say. It's not like, oh, I have the best mutual funds.
Right.
Or I do, or I'm a fiduciary.
I know that's such a played out word. I'm a fiduciary.
Right.
I have people ask me all the time, are you a fiduciary? Yes, I'm a fiduciary. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm a fiduciary. I just don't market that I'm a fiduciary because a lot of people are using that word and then they're leading into a sales product, some type of commissional based, product. They're using a financial plan, and the financial plan is going to lead into buying an investment, right? And that's not really what financial planning is. Financial planning is about strategizing. Then once you get the strategy down, maybe there's a good fit for a particular type of investment, but it's not plan to investment to then strategy.
Right. So again, and then to explain that point of the Tribox, for example, let's take, if we were to interview, say, 5 or 10 of your best clients that have been with you for 25 years, right? And we go through each of those, the moments, the cash, the producer, and the growth, right? And then we take that and break it down, and they tell their story as to how that has happened. I am sure there is going to be just such a wealth of reality, of humanity that's being lived, that people who are watching are going to say, that's me. How did they get that? It's like, that's me.
I did my first client testimonial, and it's on YouTube now. And it was a lady, Darla, who's a client of mine, that her husband passed away suddenly. And, when I met her, she went from, I don't know how she's going to retire, to now she has a place in Cabo and in Charleston, and she's got a pretty good life, but she did a lot of work. I was just a coach, right? And I'm probably very similar to your business, right? I mean, you coach, but at the end of the day, your client has to do the work, and get down and dirty to actually get the result that they're driving for.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Do you work with any clients on? I'm a big believer these days of building back-end solutions, right? So just taking my process and breaking it down into small videos that can help clients understand, what happens during an annual review, or someone who's considering us, what happens during an initial meeting, to help with that comfort level and build trust of like, oh my gosh, I got to go meet with the planner. What's he going to talk to me about? Is he going to try to sell me something, right? To kind of ease that. Have you worked with a dentist at all to put some of that back end stuff together in terms of understanding the process for the client so they get an idea prior to? And
yes, and it serves two purposes. One, you are no longer having to repeat yourself a million times, because as we understand, in whatever our business is, there are just processes that are repeated again and again and again and again. So on the one end, the client is much better informed. You're educating your own client. Absolutely. I think that's phenomenal, and that's super important. There is a second area where people, as they're searching for these terms, when somebody finds out, for example, in the dentist world, it's like, well, what's a clear aligner? And they go clear aligner. And then, but if our clients have half a dozen different videos on clear aligners, right? All of them with the proper SEO, search word optimization, there's a whole part of our team that's working sort of behind the scenes and really understanding this and developing this. Then one, you're going to be introduced to more people who are looking for that. And two, you're educating your client in terms of preparing them and empowering them to understand and ask the right questions, so that whether they come to you or anybody else, to go and get their teeth worked on, they have a very good sense of where they can go. So that is also, again, another little way in which you are, feeding the trust.
So I know for me, when I think about all the different things that we've talked about today, right? We talked about a lot. Yeah. Gave them a lot of great different, pivots, strategies they can consider. First thing that comes to mind is, how am I going to get the time for this, right? You have all the external, internal, alarm bells going off, right? This is way, it's probably going to be way too much money. Like I can't even figure out my margins right now, like he's saying, much less how I'm going to pay for this SEO and this marketing and this other things that I see. Where would you start if you were a business owner that was established, you're doing pretty well, and that you need to start looking at some of these things, whether even if it's at least doing the video, which I think is a phenomenal idea of interviewing your customers. Where would one start? What would be a good resource? Obviously, calling and hiring you would be great, right? That's always a good resource, but maybe someone's not ready for that yet. Maybe they're more kind of wanting to get their feet wet and figure things out, and maybe that comes down the road. So where would you start if you were that business owner and didn't have your level of expertise or knowledge?
Right. One is start going for a walk and really understand what it is that you're selling. That's you going internal. And then, of course, there's just so much information out there as well. The other piece that I would say is that there are programs out there. Actually, in conjunction with Wizard, we're now creating a program where and I don't want to just speak about a self-serving thing here, but just to give you an idea. But our idea is like, okay, how do we take this thing? Yes, for us, only the high-end businesses who are doing very well, who know where they want to go, they can afford us. Okay, great. But a layer underneath that, what we wanted to do was empower the business owner to be able to see and think and actually produce things on their own. Okay, so part of our idea is to have this program with Wizard Studios and Wizard Academy, where we teach technology and we teach the systems in such a way that we just get it out of the way. Okay, the tools, everything that we see here in the studio, if it's a barrier to entry for you, then it gets in the way. We have to get that out of the way, so that you're able to sit there and you're able to really eloquently communicate and talk about what it is that you do.
There's a lot of things right behind the scenes that take place. I mean, you moved the chair a couple times. I was trying to get this thing to like not time out, and we had problems with different things not recording the way it is. There's always like all these little things, but for me, what I found over the last 6 months since I started down this journey is just take it one thing at a time.
Yes.
It comes up, figure it out. I mean, when I first started, actually like a year ago, I was posting because you and I both know Garrett, who's a founder of Wake Up Warrior. But one of the things he challenged us to do is just take your phone and start going live once a day.
Yes.
On any one of your platforms, and just going live so that you didn't have time to like not post it or try to change it or anything, and just get used to speaking, right?
Yes.
And I remember I got OBS, right? And I got a camera, and I got this guy on YouTube for under $2,000. I'd have a perfect system, which I bought. Do you know how long it took me to set that easy system up? It took me 6 months to figure out how to get my audio to work on OBS. 6 months.
Yes.
I mean, so I think the course that you guys are offering would be great, right? Because you'll be teaching a lot of these basic things that someone can start consuming and learning how to do.
Yeah, and the distinction that we want to do is, in these scenarios where we can still be very active in teaching one to many. Yes, you have the coursework, you have the materials and the videos, etc. But you're not alone. Right. We're right there with you.
Right.
Okay. So if you need to move forward with things, it doesn't take you 6 months of finding things out. I shared with you before we turned the cameras on that before I met Rafael, I spent at the very least at least 6 hours really understanding ISO, right? And I went out there and made all the mistakes and so on. Rafael came to me, let me explain to you ISO. He pointed my camera at a cloud, look, put it, at 100 ISO, and then you see all the detail with the clouds and so on. Now put it at 3200 ISO, which is supposedly another native thing, and then all of a sudden the cloud is just a speck of white, right? All of the detail is gone. So it's like that. Somebody with that real distinction and that knowledge can take 6 months and turn it into 6 days or 3 days. And that example that you just gave is perfect. It's like how, and the way I teach it is, how do you create a great video? It's like, well, you start with a terrible one and you improve it.
Yeah.
Okay? But you start getting out there. And that's kind of the cool thing, because when you're out there, you're not going to have hundreds of people out there, watching you, doing
I remember I did my first one, and I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? That's the worst video I'm ever going to make.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what I kept saying to myself. Like, I do that. It's like the second worst video I'm ever going to make.
Right.
And
to that point, many people give up in that process. And part of our program is we don't let you give up. The next morning, it's like, okay, what did you do? What did you feel? What's your experience? Of course, we have a process where we teach people how to get into state, because communicating through a camera is very different than communicating human to human.
So sometimes people might have questions, they might want to reach out and they just don't know how, if they should, all these different stories come up. He's the expert, I can't ask them. If people are listening to this and they want to reach out and ask you a question, I think there's no dumb question, right?
Right.
Are you open to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You want to give like an email or something? We'll shoot it.
We'll put the link. The link right below, and it's Federico@wsmagic.com.
And what is the course that you guys are going to be launching soon? What exactly is it? It's going to be a course that you just give us bullet points. A course for business owners that want to
Yes. If you want to be able to communicate about your business in a different light, in a different way, and you are willing to put the effort that it takes, because it takes effort in the beginning. Our idea is to walk you through, both the technological aspects and the soft skills aspects, and make you incredibly powerful at doing this. So yes, that would be, for example, a phenomenal way to get started.
Perfect. I know I'm going to be one of the people in the pilot, so
yes.
I look forward to whoever might be watching this. Who knows? We might be in class together, because there's a lot that I need to learn about this. One thing I did was I launched an academy on schools called Cash Flow Academy.
Uh-huh.
It's basically taking everything I've learned to help a business owner who's doing $750,000 or more in revenue, how to get them so that they can get their profit margins, so that they're paying themselves properly, managing their taxes efficiently. So I'll put that in the link below too. So we'll have both of the classes. We'll have Cash Flow Academy and then details on what you're doing. And if there's any questions or anything that anyone has out there, please reach out. We're always here to help. It's the exact reason why we're doing the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's fun.
good
It's fun.
interview. Yes. And hope you got a lot of value. Please leave us comments, questions, etc. We'll be looking, at the comments, etc. And if there's any way we can help, please be sure to reach out, and we're there for you.
100%.
Yeah.
And cut.
Okay.
That was more than 30 minutes.
I didn't know we were going 30
minutes.
minutes.
We're engaged, right? With
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Conversation. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's cut this.
That's fun, huh?
Well, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do something that you guys can use,
Yes,
that we can
thank
both
you.
use,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's not just like, an exercise. We're like, oh, that was fun, but
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Just gonna take a picture.
¿Y qué tal, maestro? What do you think?
You cut there? Good. I was working
I
on something
didn't.
else.
Should
But
I?
yeah, you should.